Hello, everyone. We're part of the Philanthropy Intelligence team.
My name is Kelvin Zhang, and I'm studying EC and CS.
My name is Maria, and I'm also studying ECE and CS.
My name is Tristan. I'm studying CS and stats.
And my name is Naimo, and I'm studying computer science. So an overview of our presentation is we're going to be talking about the background, user interface and features, connections, matching, and then future steps. So a little bit about the background. Duke powers more than 1,000 plus initiatives that advance knowledge, but they cannot continue without steady funding. So schools like Harvard, Stanford, and Johns Hopkins have larger endowments, so supporting their work is easier. Duke, however, does not yet have a centralized system for identifying philanthropists who are not yet connected to the university. So creating a unified process to find these yet to be affiliated philanthropists is essential to closing the funding gap. So current methods to find potential donors. So finding donor information is very slow because our stakeholders rely on time-consuming Google searches. So for every single donor, and then they keep that data found into an Excel sheet. They mainly use two separate platforms, RelSci for mapping relationships, and then WealthX for estimating their net worth. But since these platforms are not connected, data becomes really hard to track. And then after identifying a potential donor, as I mentioned before, it is also important to locate a connector. So if that philanthropist has ties to a faculty member, board member, or alumnus, reaching out becomes much easier. However, if a connector is not found, this approach to a high risk of missed opportunities. So our goal here is to build a website that identifies and matches yet to be affiliated philanthropists to Duke research initiatives. And now I'll pass it on to Tristan, who will talk about the user interface and features.
Yeah, so for our tech stack, we use Python and Flask for the backend with HTML, CSS, and Jinja 2 to handle the front end and templating. And we store our data in MongoDB and use Neo4j to manage relationship-based queries and connections. And we also utilize Selenium and Beautiful Soup to web script data directly from the Chronicle Philanthropy, which is basically a big database for recent major donations. And as you can see in the screenshot in the bottom right, there's the Chronicle Philanthropy, and we inputted all of the data into our website's donor database to the screenshot to the left. So we wanted to make sure our platform was accessible to all users. So we used the Wave extension, which basically tests to see if our sites meet accessibility standards like color, contrast, and layout structure. And we're happy to say that our contrast passed all of the checks, which means the text on our site is easy to read and visually clear for all of the users. We also added ARIA tags so the platform works well with screen readers and is easier to navigate for users with visual impairments. So for our first feature, we have an AI-powered ad donor tool, which allows you to research donors fast and more intelligently. So when you enter a person's name, in our case, we added Grant Hill, our Duke GPT automatically searches the internet to gather information on different attributes, such as gift recipient, size, year, and type, and also pulls in professional details like employment history, board memberships, and significant life events. And each result is interactive, so clicking on the person's name opens up a profile with a high-level summary of the information. And you can also explore the attributes individually. So for example, clicking on employment brings up a modal that summarizes their work history and includes sources for verification. And additionally, we have an AI chatbot where you can ask questions about the donor in our database. And it takes your questions and finds information online and cross-reference it with existing data from our database to give a more complete and accurate response. It also provides sources links so you can verify the information. It's a pretty fast way to get detailed insights without having to search through multiple systems manually. And to give full control about how the AI gathers and structures information, we also have a prompt template editor feature, which allows you to customize what exactly goes into the Duke GPT so you can tailor the focus level or level of detail. And the next feature we have, which Kelvin will dive in greater detail shortly, is the donor matchmaking feature. It matches donors to specific Duke initiatives, which help align donor interests with Duke priorities. And we've also added a ranking feature to weigh which potential donors are better for certain initiatives. So you can select the donors and use our Duke GPT to rank how likely each donor is to contribute to different Duke initiatives. So currently, Duke focuses on four key campaigns, which are climate, health, science and technology, and student experience. However, you can add your own initiative based on emerging priorities or specific department needs. So we can add like Code Plus if we need to. Um, and last but not least, we have a connections feature, which Maria will talk you through in more detail shortly. And this is basically a tool that helps map out relationships between donor and potential connectors. And you can search for individuals using our filter and toggle between different layouts to view it differently. And we also have an add connection feature that lets you manually create these relationships. So, for example, if you recently found out that Mike and Jackie Bezos are family friends with Judy Woodruff, an alum, you can easily add that connection right in. And as you can see on a screenshot on the right, you can see all of Mike and Jackie Bezos's connections, and you can add connections and remove them as you please. So moving on, I'll hand it over to Maria to talk about the connections.
So for our connections feature, we use two major databases. The first one is MongoDB, which is a NoSQL database, and this is used to store the information of both the philanthropists and the Duke alumni who share the same boards as the philanthropists. We got the information about the potential donors from web scraping the Chronicle of Philanthropy, and we chose MongoDB because it's schemaless and flexible, so we're able to edit the attributes based on the requests of our stakeholders. And on the right is our end of the graph database Neo4j. One of the main things that our stakeholders really wanted to see in our website was a way to visualize this connection between Duke alumni and philanthropists, since this was a crucial step in being able to reach out to the philanthropists initially. And so here we used a series of nodes and edges to establish the connection between the philanthropists, the boards or nonprofit organizations they are on, and the Duke alumni who also sit on the same boards. Here you can see an image of the modal for adding, editing, or deleting connections. On the top is the name of the person, so it shows that it's linked to the database. You're also able to choose another person also from the database to connect to, as well as the relationship type. The table below shows the existing connections, which are updated with every edit from the user's end. And the notes on the right show that they follow a legend. So the rectangles represent philanthropists, the circles are boards, the triangles are Duke alumni, and the pentagons are people who are both philanthropists and Duke alumni, like Melinda Gates. So to find these connections, we first used Duke GPT to look through the boards of the philanthropists in our Mongo database and return a list of all the members on those boards. Then we sent API calls to the Duke alumni database to check to see if these people are actually Duke alumni. This process was done with the sequence matcher library from Python, which returns a score from 0 to 1 to check for the similarity between two names. And throughout this process, we ran into several difficulties, including duplicates in the database due to variations in names, specifically nicknames. So for example, Timothy Cook appeared 3 times in our database as Tim Cook, Timothy Cook, and Timothy D. Cook. So we used this library and name parsing to merge them all into one person, which we also applied to other cases as well. Additionally, we noticed that the connections page loaded very slowly due to the constant fetching of data from both databases. So we created a cron job, which is a nightly refresh method to clean the data, delete false positives, and also update everything in Neo4j at midnight so that our stakeholders are able to start each day with fresh information. And so now I will pass it on to my teammate Kelvin to talk about the matchmaking process.
Yeah, so to give an overview, the matchmaking component of our web app is a system that connects potential donors to Duke initiatives. Right now, we're using machine learning to understand the full context of each donor, like their background, donation history, and personal interests. And then our system suggests the best fit category and the top 3 initiatives for that donor. So from the graphic on the right, you can see that each donor ends up with color-coded matches, all of which are under the 4 major Duke campaigns, which right now are either student experience, health, science and technology, or climate. Right now, we're also using a natural language processing model called All-Mini LM L12v2, which is a model that provides a really fast and efficient way to create large amounts of text embeddings. We're using this sentence transformers model to embed donor attributes like employment, donations, and interests into a single vector. And afterwards, we then compare that donor vector with vectors representing each category and initiative. And this allows us to measure the semantic similarity. And so after we match a donor with one of the four big categories, we can then connect them with the top three initiatives based on their following similarity scores, which you can see in the table below for a sample donor, where they are matched with a category. In this case, it's science and technology, and then the top one, two, and three initiative matches, along with like numeric scores that appear on the bottom of those tags. One of the last features we added was an AI-powered ranking tool. So we're using the GPT-4 API, and this allows users to select any group of donors and then pick a specific initiative they care about. Like, for example, the Duke Climate Commitment. We then have GPT-4 take into account each donor's full profile, which consists of their background, matched initiatives, and category. And then it produces a ranking based on how well each donor is aligned with the initiative in focus. And so the output also has short explanations, so users can get more reasoning on top of the raw numeric values. And this is mainly to help users be more strategic in analyzing potential donors. And so now I'll pass it back to Tristan to talk about the future steps of our project.
Yeah, so for some of our future plans, firstly, we're working on optimizing the website's efficiency, especially because we're handling with large amounts of data. We want to make sure our site is fast and smooth. Secondly, we just deployed our server, so we're excited to start getting feedback from the alumni office and make changes based on how they use the platform. And another big focus is building out deeper connection levels so that we can identify stronger links between the philanthropists and the connectors. And on our back end, we plan to switch to a local database so that our system stays within Duke's ecosystem, which would just make accessing information easier and more secure. We also plan to build an algorithm that matches philanthropists to Duke scholars directly so that they can invest in people and projects that they truly resonate with. And lastly, we're getting access to APIs from Railsite and WealthX. So we want to pull in detailed data from them and use their insights to strengthen our matches even more. So we've just been really excited to build this project because it's truly a first. No other alumni engagement and development office at a higher education institution has publicly built a platform like ours to identify and connect with donors in this way. And right now, it matters more than ever because with recent funding cuts, major research hubs like Duke are getting hit really hard. And when funding disappears, innovation slows down, and not just for Duke, but for society as a whole. And we've all seen it firsthand. Lots of research opportunities are getting cut, and projects that students and faculty have been putting months into are being paused or completely shut down. So finding these funding for these types of initiatives is important because it has direct impact on advancing education.
Yeah, on a final note, we're really grateful for this project, for being able to work on it. And so we want to thank our team leads, our stakeholders, as well as everyone for listening to our presentation. So now we're open to any questions.